One of the fundamental problems is that people try and define things straight away. When game comes out day one, week one, month, you still don't know anything. Like
Mm.
people are so quick to try and pigeonhole what a game is straight
Mm.
away. Like they'll have literally no idea of how a character's played, but they'll just say they'll look at two moves and be like, "Oh, it's that kind of character." Like you don't
Mm.
know yet, and it
Mm.
takes
Mm.
time. What you know now will change as well. Like what's defined now will evolve over time as well. And yes, with Street Fighter, there were definitely some characters that majored in Rushdown being super effective. Like that was
Mm.
the best way to play the character hands. You know, some characters could do a bit of both. There were some zoning elements, but there were some strong Rushdown elements as well. There were some characters that were predominantly zoning, and so you did have quite a vast array of styles in that game with the massive, with the broad and yes, Tekken, on any fighting game, when a character has visibly dominant tools, if one tool is, oh my God, Tiger Uppercut, 160 damage, wow. Like when a character just has really, really dominating areas of gameplay where it's quite obvious that this is a strong tool, then everyone just flocks to saying that character's. They forget about the guy in the corner that has like a string with a million jabs that actually takes twice the damage. They forget about that guy. They just look at the one big windy haymaker move that does all the damage, or the massive ultra. They'll be, oh my God, that's overpowered, and it's not a very deep thought process in how characters are defined early. And I think
Yeah.
that that's something that needs to kind of change. When a game comes out, we're students. As
Mm.
soon as a game comes out, we're not defining anything. We're just students in a classroom trying to learn. That's
Mm.
all there
Also,
is. We're learning about the game. We're trying to understand. We're trying to develop. And then comes the understanding. When the understanding comes, then
Mm.
you know where you fit in into that
Mm.
equation. Where do I fit in? What character is good for me? How can I be a part of this? Do I want to be the rush? Do I want to be the grab character guy? Do I want to be the defensive guy? You then find a place for yourself, and that's kind of how it works. And then after that, then you start growing. Only then.
Mm.
Once you've got all the data, all the information, you found your character, you've got your sweet spot in the community, then you start really. So defining doesn't happen for a long time, because only then when you're starting growing, then you then define. Okay, I don't know. I've had 15 first to tens this weekend, and I've learned that this character is good in this and this and that area, and it's not that good in this and this and that area, and so on. You keep evolving your knowledge, you keep learning, but it's never a question of trying to define what the game is on day one and trying to work everything out and trying to then tell other people what the game is. You're not in a position to do that. But
Mm.
people get so confident in their decision making. And also, when people want to discuss tier lists, it's not even a debate. They're not bringing their body of knowledge to the table for dissection. They just want to fill a survey and submit it, and then and I just think that's not really productive in growing as a community. We need to be open to like our opinions being wrong, me
Mm.
included.
Yeah.
I'm happy if someone says, "Yeah, what about this?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I didn't think of that. Maybe that could work." And
Yeah.
this is what it's going to take. It's going to take a bit of tit for tat in terms of being quite open and being quite vulnerable in how you form your opinions and have those opinions challenged. And social media is such an unhealthy ocean for that, for that to work, right? It's
Yeah.
such a bad place of pollution and negative energy, and it's not really conducive to having a positive infrastructure for how we can evolve in fighting games. But if we're serious about, if we want to get better, if we want to improve, if we want to be able to offer developers and publishers valuable feedback, then we also as a community need to improve how we collate our own data, because there's a
Mm.
lot of blaming publishers. Oh, Michael Murray, oh, Harada, Capcom,
Mm.
please. Like, we do a lot of that. But half of the people saying that don't even know what they're doing on fighting games. They're just making noise because they can, because they're an anonymous person on a PC. So I think we also need to take some responsibility, pro players, intermediate, new players coming in, understand that we're all limited in what we. Everyone is a student. Everyone. Don't care if you're Arsenal Ash. Don't care if you're Knee. Don't care. We are all still learning, but it's the learning why we love. We don't want a completed formula. We don't want a solved game. The learning is why it's so. Oh my God! I found this today. Those feelings are amazing. So I just feel all round, it's not there's just one group to blame and that's that. I think all round there's some improvements we can all make, and yeah, I think we'd enjoy it so much more if we were able to just kind of variate the way we think about.
Yeah. It can just be basically summed down to communication and humility, really. These
hmm
Can't sum it up.
But also, time is an important factor. People are judging, like you said, right, too fast. The patch notes came out day one. Everyone was crying, literally, and you don't have the opportunity to play on turn, of course, right now. So why don't you wait a bit and see what happens? But instead, they're like, "I'm quitting Tekken," and the same person.
Calm down.
Like, just chill,
pretty
just
extreme.
watch what happened. Don't exaggerate, and just look what happened and try to improve, try to grow out of these situations. Try to use sidestep at least once. You didn't do that before against Mishimas. Now try to do it at least, or against other characters. Why don't you try to grow as a character, as a player? So I feel like we need time maybe in 1 or 2 years. Of course, there will be more patches come out. And this will also change the meta and the game by itself. But we try to adapt and try to understand how we should need to learn from these nodes and try to improve. But many people don't try to do that. They try to complain. And we are happy and try to fix that. And if they fix it, they wouldn't even try to adapt from these changes. They would say, okay, it's fine, and we don't play anyway, or we don't play anyway.
But I think it's a little bit of what Arya said. It's about communication. It's a little bit about communication, because it's about a guy saying, this is cheap, not have this, but then it's about a collective saying, hey, actually, it's not that that's cheap, it's that you just don't know you can do this and this. And once you start doing this, they can do this and that. And then you have this kind of little fun game going on. Sometimes people just need a bit of help. You'll read a Reddit post where someone's flaming a character, but all they're really asking for is some, hey, what can I do about this problem? And if you come with, if you come with a solution that they can use, then it's like, oh, I didn't know that, and there needs to be a bit more of like getting angry with someone that has a problem, like help. If you know the solution, then why don't you help them? If they're saying, random hotkeys are too cheap, then why don't you help them with space? Why don't you teach them about the game's movement? Instead of just saying you're an idiot because you're complaining. And I think that unless we get into a bit more of a stride of unity, it's not going to work. Like whatever we do, even if we have the perfect game the most perfect game on the planet, we'll still have these problems if the community aren't more kind of like supportive of. Because the other thing as well is it's okay to be unhappy. It's okay to complain. It's okay if there's something you're not happy with. But it's about then being together in how we like come to that, consensus of these are the solutions. This is the workaround, and this is ultimately why that whole scenario you're having an issue with is actually
a lot of the anger and frustration and it's particularly prevalent in the fighting game genre because it's so complex and it's so obscure and hard to get into, is that people just don't understand why they lost. I mean, losing is fine, but if they're given the tools and the means to understand what happened there, you can see that kind of anger melt away.
I mean, I think one of the problems is the understanding. I mean, understanding here is a multi-tiered word, right? I mean, dinosaur, someone complaining about not being able to evade a 10-string is a problem that dinosaur wouldn't. So I feel like, for someone like dinosaur to then have to go into a chat on a forum and talk with this person, it's probably going to be him holding his tongue about why that guy's such a... because that's super basic, right? But instead of taking that approach, I think we need to be a bit more like, okay, I understand that I have a little bit more experience in this person. I need to be mindful of that and I think once you just layer the foundation of any of these conversations with respect, then everything changes. A scrub can approach an intermediate player and not get dissed hard just because he has a problem with the other guy. Because that's what it is. I'll go on Reddit or whatever, Twitter or Facebook, and it's just like people getting flamed because their understanding of the game is different to the other. But we're not supposed to have a uniform understanding. We're all different humans, for crying out loud. We're allowed to be different. But that difference shouldn't be knocked. If someone mains Yoshimitsu and they know everything about Yoshimitsu and then someone comes with a complaint about why Yoshi's broken, that conversation doesn't need to get out of hand. That should be able to be a reasonable conversation between two people that just want to find answers and be better at the game around the fun that the game produces, not around
Yeah.
egos, not around, I'm better than you, so you have no say. Because that's another mistake that a lot of experienced people make. I'm better than you, so your opinion holds no weight. That's the biggest pile of crap I've ever heard.
Exactly.
I've learned so much from people that I've never lost a game to. And I've been able to teach people that are better. So this whole, the entire mentality around the way we share information on a fighting game, that can definitely improve exponentially.
Yeah, it's also about like not it's very easy, like in general in the internet, not just like rudeness, but also to like drop into like defined groups of people and then say, well, I don't like the other people in that group. And like within fighting games, it's often like, people be like, they'll be playing the fundamental characters or whatever, they'll be playing or they'll be, and there gets like, as much as I've said, like I think Mishimas and stuff, you need to be rewarded because they're very difficult, and all this other kind of stuff. There are many, very difficult characters in this game. They're many very difficult in many different ways, but also that everyone wants to express themselves in different ways. So I have seen like people get super mad at other people because all they've done is they've decided that they really love like Eliza or Xiao Yu or like Akuma in particular. Like, I've seen someone who just got into the game. And he was like, what? I love Akuma and the way he looks in this game. And he just played Akuma and like worked super hard. And then people were just like, how dare you? What are you doing? Like, how are you absolute scrub? You don't deserve to win anything. And all he did was pick up a character that he loved and put tons of time into it. Like, we should all have like respect that other people, they value certain things about their characters, and that like they've got their journey. Like, don't see someone who's playing like some character and be like, you're playing Kazuya, you must be a scummy elitist, or you're playing Zhao Yu, like you got no fundamentals and all you do is go AOP and like Cali roll. Like these, when we're like communicating in the community, we need to like understand that everyone has their things that they value, and that these are, as long as they're not like a dickhead, we should you should be as like as kind as possible, and respect that like everyone is people are generally like working their hardest and trying to express themselves in their own way.
Yeah, like characters are not different shoe boxes that you put people into. They're not templates for different groups, for different user groups, and I think there's a misunderstanding there. Like, you're a Mishima elitist prick or whatever, you think you walk on water or whatever. Like, no, we're all coming into this from different perspectives. We're all coming. There are Mishima players that know nothing about the history of Tekken or the community. They've just come into the game. They saw Heihachi versus Kazuya beef in the story, and they're like, I think one of these guys look cool. I'm gonna pick this guy. And they're not in it for the beef. They're not in it for you finding Heihachi a bad matchup for your character. They don't care about any of that. They just want to have. And we have to create a place for those people to exist in the Tekken universe, in the community. So yeah, it's always going to be difficult, of course, because essentially this world exists on the internet. So yeah,
especially exists on the internet now.
Especially now when everyone's
looking forward. Yeah,
very bad. From my perspective now, very bad internet.
So, oh man, I don't know. I think people should be not judged on their character select. You pick Miguel, so you're that kind of player. I don't know what kind of player that kind of player is, but you pick this character. You're this.
Yeah, this happens automatically.
Yeah, so you're a Jin player. You're that guy. Like, what do you mean? You know nothing about me. So I think we need to stop this like prejudgment thing. Like, what do you mean? Like, it's also very ignorant to think you know someone based on their character, or their mentality, or their game style, or their experience. It's very, very limited mindset. Like, why you?
Like typical example that Law, Asuka, these type of things.
Like for example, like we've got a player in the UK called Haroon, and he plays Anna, right? And he is heterosexual.
Okay.
Like,
right? Yeah.
Like, he must be like the only one. Yeah. But like,
Unbelievable. I don't
Yeah,
believe you, Phil.
People need
Lies.
to not take character choices personally. Is the general thing.
Definitely. Yeah. Oh man.
I'm sorry,
But-
Ryan.
But he might. Having said that, he might be the only one.
Yeah.
All right, guys. It's been. Oh, Ryan's running away. Had enough of this.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. We're back.
You okay?